Greetings, students. Thank you for joining me for another fantastic math lesson. Today's lesson is on multiplying fractions using models. Let's begin. First off, today's objective is to, by the end of this video, be able to multiply fractions using models. When I say models, I mean by drawing pictures. Let's go ahead and see how this happens. Let's take a look at the process of taking this particular problem, 3/4 times 1/3, and changing it into a picture that'll actually solve the problem. So let's look at it step by step. Step 1 is to draw a rectangle and divide the rectangle horizontally into as many pieces as there are in the denominator of the first fraction. So we've got our first fraction up here, 3/4, and we take a look at the rectangle I've drawn, and I've broken it into 4 pieces because that matches the denominator of 4. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. Step 2 says that I'm supposed to color in as many horizontal sections as shown in the numerator of the first fraction. So the numerator of the first fraction is 3, so I've colored in 3 of my little bars that I've made, and I've got 1, 2, 3. So 3/4 of my rectangle has been colored in. Now let's move on to step 3. Step 3 says to divide the rectangle vertically, that means up and down if you're not sure what vertically means, into as many pieces as are in the denominator of the second fraction. So if we go back up to the top, our second fraction was 1/3. We take a look at the denominator, 3, and that's how many vertical sections we need. So I've got 1 vertical section, 2 vertical sections, and 3 vertical sections. Step 4 says to color in as many vertical sections as shown in the numerator of the second fraction. So my numerator in the second fraction says that I've got 1, and so I color in only 1 of those vertical columns. So I've got 1 of them colored in here. In this case it's yellow. Color doesn't really matter. Step 5. The answer to your product, or if you remember, product is just a vocab word for the answer to a multiplication problem. So the answer for my product is the number of spaces shaded twice. So I go up and I see 1, 2, 3 have been shaded in twice. 3. And my total number of sections. If I count up all the little squares that were made from the columns and rows that I made, I see that I've got 12 little boxes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I've got 12 right down here for my denominator. The last step, and this is really a step on any time you're working with fractions, multiplying or dividing, is you've always got to check if you can simplify your answer. And I take a look at 3/12 and I see that they both have a common factor of 3. So I divide each one by 3, and that gives me a simplified fraction of 1/4. Let's go ahead now and get some practice in real time. The first problem I want to do is I want to do 4/5 times 1/6. So I'm going to start out by drawing a rectangle. Now the first thing I'm going to do is look at my first fraction, 4/5. The first or second step after drawing the rectangle is I've got to divide it into 5 pieces to match this denominator here. And I'm going to do that horizontally, meaning side to side. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I didn't draw it perfectly, but it will still work. My next thing is I've got to color in 4 of those sections to match the numerator. So I'm going to go ahead and color those in. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. Got 4 of them colored in. The next thing I'm going to do is move to my next fraction. So I'm going to divide this one into 6 pieces. So I'm going to do this vertically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now I've got to color in the number of columns that matches my numerator. So I color in one column. Now I have all the information I need to find my answer. I find my answer by counting up how many little squares that my lines created, how many of those little squares got colored twice. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 squares got colored twice. Now I count how many squares I made total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's a lot. 4 over 30 is what I have for an answer. Now I always need to double check and make sure that I can't simplify. I do notice that both of these numbers are even. Whenever two numbers are even, they both have in common a factor of 2. So if I divide 4 by 2, I get 2, and if I divide 30 by 2, I get 15. And my simplified answer is 2/15. Let's go ahead and try another problem. This one, we're going to do 1/2 times 5/8. So again, I start out by drawing my rectangle. I divide it horizontally to match into the same number of pieces as would match my denominator. So in this case, I divide it into 2 pieces horizontally. Pretty easy. Now I'm going to shade in one of those pieces to match the numerator. So I shade in one of the pieces. Next, I move to the second fraction, and I make it 8 pieces vertically. So 2, 4, 5, that should be 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 8 pieces now, and it says I need to shade in 5 of those vertical pieces. So I choose my color and I go ahead and shade those in. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now all I've got to do is a little counting to figure out what my numerator and denominator of my answer are going to be. I'm going to count up all the ones that got shaded twice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them got shaded twice. And now I'm going to count up how many squares I have altogether, shaded or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I have 16. I check to see if I can simplify this fraction. 5 is prime, meaning only 1 and 5 are factors of it. Now, 1 and 5 are not. The only factor that is a factor for 16 is 1. 1 won't make anything any smaller, so we have our simplest form, and we have our answer, 5/16. Let's go ahead and go back to our objectives and see what it is we were supposed to cover. Well, if we take a look here at our objectives, by the end of the video you were supposed to be able to multiply fractions using models. We've seen a few different examples in the video. Now if any of the steps are messing you up, I suggest you go back and watch the video again and get a little bit more practice with it. I'm glad you could join me, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.